and that's maybe another legal loophole or
You
something
know,
that
Hey,
we
what's
can
going
talk
on,
about.
everybody? It's your
We've
we're
boy
done
Dustin.
definitely
quite.
here strength in numbers right now,
We're
guys.
live
And I'm
streaming
sorry, George.
the
I'm gonna interrupt here. These guys,
Varsity
you know,
Stream
we
with
got 14
Conversation with
viewers.
Gangster,
We get
the
more
PA
usually, typically on
Association.
the rewatch.
These guys
We usually
are
get close to 5,000
fighting against
views.
like bands all
If
around the
every
United
single
States.
one
So
of you
just
just took
enjoy
10
and chat
bucks out of your pocket,
and ask any
it's the
questions
same
and I'll
amount
ask
that
them
you're
as
gonna
well.
spend for a cheeseburger. You really don't eat it anyway. Eat a salad at home. Spend the $10. Donate it to our friends here, so they can save your freaking hobby.
Thank you, Jeremy. Yeah, back to Bobby's question. I worked for four different legislators as a staffer at the Capitol. I've now, about 20 years ago, moved over and became a lobbyist. Um, but to your question, Bobby, yes, every single person matters. And every time that a legislator gets an email from us, they say, "Oh boy, it's a hookah association." Okay, that's important. Okay, let's see. George Johnson from San Diego. I don't care. I'm a legislator in Los Angeles. But if you are a constituent of that legislator, they look at that as a representative of 100 more constituents. So for
Oh wow.
every single person that writes their legislator or emails or calls, or if you really want to be a baller, let us know and let us set up a meeting with you and your legislator. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, if you've never voted before. I don't care if you're not registered to vote. I don't care if you hate politics. Politics is coming for you. And that's the absolute truth. And that's why we're here today. And that's what we've seen. We've seen it at all levels. McKenna has mentioned the cities and the states. It's coming everywhere because the opposition is absolutely fully funded. This
Hmm.
is, don't watch this video and think, oh, these guys have my back. No problem. We got a lobbyist, they got another lobbyist, they've got a president, and they've got all these people. Fumari is going to handle it. I got to give a shout out to Al Fakr, also a leading member and major sponsor of our organization. Thank you to Al Fakr and to all of the members of our association, and especially the funders and the donors. We cannot do this alone. Absolutely, every $10, every cheeseburger. Think of it in that way. Um, think of it in that way. Every cheeseburger counts. Put one cheeseburger aside. I usually eat two anyways, so I'll eat that one and the
Same here.
fries. Put the
Yeah.
other one, send it to us. Or if that's not your thing, just sign up. We actually want you to sign up more. That's more important to this issue than anything else. And it's really easy. You don't ever have to talk to anybody. You don't have to see anybody. Just sign up, and then we'll let you know what the activity is in your area
These
and how you
guys are
can be
making
helpful.
great
And
points.
and and really, all you would need to do is just click. That's to some degree, that's all we're going to need, because now these people have made the investment, the sponsors, the funders have made the investment, and we see a really strong path ahead for advocacy. We have some wins.
So,
So let me tell you about 793 and the state bill here. You've heard about it, you've seen it, maybe you've followed us, maybe you've sent an email and you've made a call. Thank you very much. The fight is not over. The law was passed to ban flavored tobacco. We got a carve out. 793 passed. We, the people on this screen, negotiated with the California Medical Association, with the Cancer Society, with Tobacco Free Kids, with the proponents of all of these bans. They sat down because they had to, right? Not because they wanted to, not because they liked it. They sat down with us because we had the political support of Senator Anthony Portantino, of Senator Stern, Ben Allen, many other legislators that came to your aid specifically to protect your right to continue to smoke hookah
so I got a
based on
really interesting. Go ahead. Sorry. My apologies. Go ahead.
no, just saying that is how we got it, and we won. And then Big Tobacco came and smashed us. Big Tobacco spent over $3 million over the course of just a handful of days telling legislators vote no on the carve out, because there's vote no on the ban, not because they were opposed to the vape pen ban, not because they were opposed about losing millions of dollars. They said there's a hookah carve out, so it's dangerous for kids. So the irony of big tobacco using hookah as an excuse to kill the bill. We're gonna see this again because you may have seen
Absolutely.
big tobacco put an initiative. They repealed the law and are going to put it in front of California voters statewide. Now, they did that thinking that they would have an extension, basically, because once they did that, it puts a timeout on the law. So right now, there's a current, you may be confused. I thought there was a law that passed. Well, it did pass, but it was put on a timeout because they got a referendum. They spent millions of dollars to put it on the ballot. So that puts the law on hold, and they thought they would have until November of 2022 to sell those products. Well, there's going to be a recall of Governor Gavin Newsom in California, and that ballot measure is going to be put on this ballot this year of the recall, which is likely to be set for November of this year.
So
Can I
a lot
say-
of political stuff and very confusing. Sorry to do that, but that's
No,
what we
that's-
got in 93.
That's perfect. I actually, if I can just right before you, Jeremy, I want to say I hope that this conversation continues to, and that people are already noticing how hookah's kind of caught in the middle here between some larger groups that are vying for legislation, and calling back to even I think when Big Tobacco won with menthol originally a long time ago in New York. It's not about the consideration of the consumer. Sometimes it's about their own pockets, or almost always it's about keeping their own pockets lined. But like, we don't have the advocacy of these big tobacco lobbyists and their millions of dollars of resources. We're on the chopping block in their eyes as well, or just kind of like a pawn to be played to their advantage. And so this is why such advocacy has been mentioned here is very important, because we're kind of the little guy on both sides of this battle that are happening, and we get lumped in legislation to the advantage of either side. So yeah, just wanted to throw that in before you.
We got big tobacco
Well said, Bobby.
with these mega factories that employ thousands and thousands of people around the U.S. and probably tens of thousands of people around the world. I'm going to mention maybe one company, maybe Reynolds or somebody like that. And you got George talking over here, talking nice and humble about Tangiers with 60 employees. What is more likely to be the problem? The guy that has thousands and thousands and thousands of employees, or the small little market that employs 60 here, stateside? We're a very much smaller market than vape. We're a much smaller market than cigars. We're an even much smaller market than cigarettes. I mean, that's going to be the issue first. It doesn't make sense by numbers. You got a state that is going broke trying to institute legislation that costs them millions of dollars to do first place, and then millions of dollars to redo just to capture such a tiny little market. It seems like the weight outweighs the reward. It just seems silly to me. We do have a question that came in, and I think this resonates well with me. And so I'm going to read the question, and I'll let you guys respond. From my experience, majority of hookah lounge owners are ignorant of the fact that this is happening, or that they do not care to get involved. Is there a plan to try to get them more involved, or how do you go about educating them? And is that playing a role during the COVID-19 crisis? Do you find that these cities and states are just trying to slide one under on you?
So I'll take that, Jeremy. Couple things. I think what happens is many hookah lounge owners are from immigrant descent from Arabic countries that are war torn, Armenia, certain places where they hate politics. They hate politicians. They don't believe it's going to happen to them. Don't get involved. We don't want to put our head above the water because they're going to see us. Then they're going to get us. They're going to come after us. They're going to destroy us. So a lot of times when we would go knocking on their door saying, hey, dude, this is going to affect your life. You got to get involved. And they would be like, oh, we want nothing to do with it. Don't put our name there. Don't put our business name there because the city will come after us. And they had every right to feel that way because that's what happened in LA. The city attorney wanted actually our list of members on the Hookah Chamber of Commerce, and I refused to give it to him. We refused to give it to him. And he came on us hard. He started raiding hookah lounges. They started citing hookah lounges. And then he came back and said, you see, out of so many hookah lounges, 80% failed. They were serving to minors. They were serving to this. Or most of it was they were serving water while they were smoking hookah, or they were serving tea. And so if we weren't at the table, a lot of the politicians and council members would have fallen for that. But since we were at the table, we said, look, you get thirsty when you're talking to friends for 2 hours. What's a cup of water or a cup of tea going to do to you? It's not like we're serving alcohol, and there's nothing illegal about water or tea. So that was their loophole that they came at hookah lounge owners. Now, I don't blame them for not getting involved up to this date, basically. But if they don't get involved moving forward, then I think they're just ignorant, because it does affect you. It does affect your business. You literally have to close your business if it passes, just like LA County. It passed and all the hookah lounges closed down. Or COVID hit and they were forced to close. And I don't even think if there's any other hookah lounge that survived after COVID that was kind of holding on. And if a flavor ban passes in your city, they're going to shut you down.
I'd like
So
to
you hear that?
I'd like to issue a challenge to every single retailer that calls Hookah University their home. I'd like you to find a way to partner with the National Hookah Community Association, whether it be $1 or 50 cents that's added on to every single order. It's not that hard. 50 cents is pocket change. It's something that you find in your little side cup over there when you're driving your car that you forget about and you end up vacuuming out when you go to the car wash
Ouch.
anyway. Uh, let's get these retailers involved. Let's do something. Even if
Well,
it's an
that's what I was.
option for your order, donate $5 with your order to National Hookah Community Association. Let's do something.
Totally. We
Something is better than
already, I
nothing.
mean, we see on some of the retailer sites as well, you can add on, optional, insurance outside of the postal services and things like that. It's totally something that could be done, but also not just a challenge for the lounge owners, but for the enthusiasts and the consumers as well, to speak to your lounge owners as well, if you especially if you've already gotten involved, word of mouth, like let them know about the NHCA and that they should sign up. I mean, especially pressure from patrons will maybe be the catalyst to get some of the bigger players involved, state to state.
So, guys, couple things. NHCA meets every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Everybody is welcome to join us. Anyone that wants to participate, even just to kind of be a fly on the wall or sit in and just listen to what we're talking about, whether it's, the daily policy stuff, state bans, local bans, our strategy. Everybody that's part of our community is welcome to join. And then also we are forming committees that you can participate in. So just because you're not on the NHCA board or participating financially doesn't mean you can't chip in. If you have the time, if you can commit to being part of it. I mean, we can even form a committee that says Hookah Community Committee, which would be the enthusiasts, the community itself. And some of you can lead that committee and we can participate and pretty much keep everybody up to date. Our website is being built. It's work in progress. All the members that sign up will have the back end. We'll have a message board in the back. We'll have, email blasts that go out. We already added our calendar for flavor bans and meetings that we can have.
Will that also show the geolocation, perhaps, of where these bans are happening? So people in their location can look on a map and see where they're being affected or where it's being affected.
Yeah, we can definitely add that as well.
And then Jeremy,
something to keep in mind, because some people had said, "Oh well, I went to the Hookah Chamber site or NHCA and it was very plain." And there was a time during the heated battles in California and LA that we stopped posting our information on the next flavor bans on the actual platform because, the antis were coming to our website and Facebook page in the Facebook group, finding out where we're going to be. And the first thing they would say is, you should ban hookah. Hookah is a problem in classrooms. And it's like, then it's us chasing it saying, oh, no, it's not a problem in classrooms. And they would bring in 30 students that would say, ban hookah, I hate hookah, or hookah, I have friends that smoke hookah, which was 99% lies. But, they had numbers.
Well, uh, I think Rima wants to say something, but I was going to say even maybe I don't know what the legal side of this would be, Jeremy, but maybe a challenge for Hookah University as well, which has already been promoting the NHCA. But maybe on the sign up page for new members, we could put a little blurb or something there, a little link to the NHCA as well. I think that, as we continue to grow exponentially, the growth has been really crazy on our end. That would be something to maybe put a little, blurb or advertisement about that could be helpful. But Rima, please, you were going to say something.
Uh, and just to add to what Arnie was saying, in addition to this, because we have so many states that have initiated in the past month or so statewide flavor bans, we're looking to set up chapters in each of these states, and we're looking for someone who is willing to step up and help us set up these chapters. We're basically taking the platform that we've created here in California and just duplicating it in these other states. So, according to the NHC bylaws, we need at least 5 people to create these chapters, and then we give you guys the assistance, support, and template to set that whole thing up. And in addition to that, we're calling each retailer and lounge in each of these states. And so, we also could use help with volunteers to help with that effort, because that's a very big job. So, there's plenty of opportunity to get involved. I mean, obviously, when you go to our website, you can join as a member, you can contribute. And also, too, there's a link there. I think it's info at National Hookah Community Association or nationalhookah.com, where you can connect with us. It goes straight to Haran. You can find out about our meetings and join us and get into the loop here. And of course, find out about opportunities to join one of these committees that Arnie has mentioned. Because look, guys, not only is the Anti-Tobacco Coalition's gunning for us, but Big Tobacco on the other side is gunning for us. And there's power in numbers. I mean, the simple math, the more that we come together and unite as a community, the stronger we will be, the more political sway we'll have. And we'll be a force to be reckoned with. Already, with such a small group, we've done so much. And we're getting scary. As we keep on growing, these politicians won't be able to ignore us. So I encourage you to get involved. It's been a really exciting experience to be a part of something that's new like this. It's never existed before, and we invite everyone to be a part of this history.
So I'm going to ask you guys a very interesting question. Do we have the capacity as influencers in this industry to create content that changes and combats the false narratives that are currently existing in the industry? And that comment comes from Mr. Paul Seelau.
I like that question because we do deal with a lot of false narratives. I mean, there's a study, claiming that hookah tobacco is the equivalent of, 1 hour is the equivalent of 100 cigarettes. And that study has been debunked many, many times.
Oh, yeah.
Yet it's persistent in every piece of legislation and in everybody's mouths when this topic is discussed in front of any council that were before. So I would love to see people combat that narrative to provide real numbers and better scientific data, right? Al-Fakir funded a study, but they couldn't get a peer review to get it. It was published, but there was no peer review. It's very difficult to get, real numbers out there. So the narrative is very important. I that's the first thing that came to my mind. But there's plenty of other narratives that we want to continue to establish. As we mentioned at the beginning of this, having best practices. We are not promoting youth smoking. We are not promoting, addiction of things. We are promoting a culture and a pastime that is steeped in traditional practices. So I really think that there's a lot to be said in the narrative. Also, any other talking points that can come up for our fight. It's not, the culture is our major argument, but there has to be other ones out there too as well. So anybody who has another idea for these, talking points, I'm all ears.
I wanted to say really quickly, because I didn't even know if we were going to touch on that, and we certainly probably shouldn't dwell. on it. But yeah, anybody who's an enthusiast and has been around for a while is familiar with the study that George just referenced and its debunking. And again, I just can't help but think to Paul's question about influencers, as well as just the platform we have on Hookah University, that it's important to get information out there, scientific and otherwise, when it comes across your table. I wonder what could be done, to speak to George's point about, trying to get something peer reviewed. But I was thinking earlier about talking about the difficulties in that regard. It's just really hard to get a study underway and check off all the or cross all the T's and dot all the I's in the ways that legislation requires. But if anybody has any information on that as well, maybe that's something we could mobilize
Yeah,
also.
please share that.
Yeah. And
Because
Rima,
there's really not much in regards to that. So there's a lot of misconceptions of what it is. Obviously, we have opportunities to, whenever we meet with these people or show up to these bands to educate people. And if you go to the NHCA, it's actually nationalhookah.com. You'll see that there's a history of hookah video that was created for NHCA. That it's a little too long, to be honest. It's about 4 minutes, but it really does educate you on the history and where hookah came from. And again, the more that we put out that information, it helps to debunk. I mean, let's say this, guys. Our biggest strongest argument is the cultural historical tradition of hookah, and it's
no doubt.
actually so strong and so authentic and genuine that Big Tobacco has been trying to use the same argument recently at flavor bans and in their own. They've been trying to say, well, we're cultural, we're traditional, and they're trying to piggyback off of our arguments because we have been so successful with them. So we got a good thing. Ours is actually true and genuine, and they may not be able to have the same authenticity that we have.
So guys, real quick, Jeremiah, the answer to that question is yes. What we need from the community, what we would appreciate the community do. I'm a web developer by trade. In '99, when I was saying you got to build a website, people laughed at me. And I said there's going to be two types of businesses online and businesses out of business. And people laughed at me 20 years ago, and today we see the change. Now, an argument we say during legislation, because a Lebanese Armenian guy was actually the policy director for Jerry Hill, Jono, and he actually came at me saying, well, you want to just poison our Middle Eastern kids and this and that. So he was totally kind of brainwashed, I want to say, or trying to please his employer or his boss. And it pretty much came down to this. Slavery was legal, but that doesn't mean it was right. So just because they pass laws, that doesn't mean they're doing the right thing or doing it right by the people. So I want to let you guys know that every content you write, I mean, all of you that are sitting in front of a computer, Google hookah, see what pops up. I guarantee you it's not us. It's all the anti-tobacco propaganda and all the crap that they post pops up. So what we need to do as a community is create content and make sure that if legislators are Googling hookah, national hookah, hookah community, our information pops up, the message we want to deliver to them pops up and is on the first page, or if not like first, second, third on the first page, because that'll determine the vision or the idea of that legislator. If his first thing he's reading is hookah is bad for you, it's just as bad as smoking cigarettes, he already made up his mind. If he reads like, hey, it's cultural, traditional, it's not just like cigarettes, it takes time to set up. Now he's curious. He's like, okay, let me check this out. What do they mean by saying it takes time to set up? Many, 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 many times we put a hookah in front of a legislator that never seen it. They're like, wow, that thing? Yeah, that's not what we're talking about. That's not the problem. No. So some of these are not just ignorant, they're just not informed. A lot of our job has been informing them and educating.
Yeah, no doubt. I completely understand that. Guys, I'm going to pass this a little bit to Afrak. And Afrak, I've covered so many questions by our community, and we've talked in very general terms. Rima, you may be able to to answer this as well. Are there facts that we don't understand yet as a community about this ban? Are there things that are looming just on the outside that are kind of these outliers? And what I mean by that is, we understand what the current bans are, but do we know what's happening kind of in the background? Is that part of your lobbying as well? Have you heard anything? Do you hear these type of things? How do we get ahead of it, etc.?
Nice.
Well, we are developing strategies to get ahead of it. We're finding what we call our champions, right? We know we have supporters out there. We know that we have people, that legislators that use hookah, right? We've talked to some. We've talked to many of them. They know. So, but yeah, so we're learning because we've been in this. We're in fights, just like McKenna said, every day. Different cities, a new city will pop up. A city that you live in is going to be popping up probably soon, and we've seen them get more creative. And Rima, I think you can talk about some of the zoning issues that we've seen. So we've seen the proponents get smarter and adapt. So Jeremy, that's an amazing question. I don't know how you were in on some of our meetings, but
I'm an architect. I understand it a little bit.
yeah, they've gotten smarter. They know that we're really strong with our cultural arguments. We're professionalized, we're organized, and we're growing. And so thank you, everybody out there that's watching that has already joined, sent a comment, or is in the process of joining during this podcast, video cast. But yes, they're getting smarter. They are figuring out ways to put bans and limit us without calling it a ban specific to hookah. And maybe Rima, you could talk about what we went through, and McKenna as well, in Elk Grove, and living changes that we're seeing, because they're getting smarter and smarter, and they'll continue to evolve and adapt.
Well, just an example, they're creating TRLs, which are tobacco retail license programs that limit the amount of retailers in a city or county. And so what happens is that, they put an unnatural limit, like 7. You can only have 7 outlets, but they're already existing like 20 outlets. So they have to close them down, and then they'll put in a space restriction, not only from sensitive areas like, daycares and schools, like you have to be a buffer zone like of 1,000 feet, but then they also create a buffer zone between each tobacco outlet. So it's just like, you're like, oh my God, how in the world are we going to achieve that? And then they create like these TRLs that you can't transfer your tobacco retail license. So once you go out of business, that license is gone, and then you can't apply for a new one. So you lose your grandfather status. And in addition to that, we've seen restrictions that don't allow you to even transfer it to your own children or family, which a lot of these people, they're family-owned businesses, and they want to hand it down to the next generation. And some of the restrictions don't allow that to happen. So we've also seen restrictions where they won't allow any delivery service, like how you have now, like with the Grubhubs, or where they won't allow you to do that. It has to only be on-site sales. So we've seen all kinds of things, with zoning. They're making it so that it's almost like a reverse condemnation, like an eminent domain type of thing, where the government is actually rendering your property not useful for its original purpose and design. And these people, they don't, lawmakers, they're so sometimes detached from business. Some of them get it, but some of them are like, well, don't worry, just change your business to something else. It's okay that you have this lease that you're stuck in. Just go ahead and change your business. Or why don't you just instead sell only online? That's what happened with one county, where you're like, how can you just switch to online sales, like overnight,
So you're telling me that kids matter, but the only kids that matter are the ones that are here. You can sell online. No, I don't care. The only ones that matter are the ones within this imaginary line.
And that's
right. Well, I mean, honestly, what we have seen in places that have passed flavor bans, like San Francisco, they, after like a year or two of the flavor ban, they took a survey, and it didn't reduce youth smoking. And they were like, why is that? Well, they just went to the outlying areas. I mean, it just pushed it out. Instead of passing reasonable regulation and using the retailers as the front line to do the IDing, they're pushing it into almost the underground black market, all of
Well,
that business. And they're not parting, and they don't care about the FDA and what's in their products. So again, we're trying to work with lawmakers to pass reasonable regulations because we agree kids should not be smoking, and we want to work with our lawmakers to affect have a effective legislation that's going to address the issue and not continually piling laws on laws.
Right.
I mean, it really does come down to education and enforcement of the already existing laws.
I think you said something, very poignant when you with the word reasonable. And it speaks again to maybe where hookah is in this entire conversation. I was wondering, and I hope that this is not a taboo question here as well, but are there other types of perhaps maybe governmental interests that might be monetary, seeking to
So at the end
lump
of the
hookah
day,
in with we know
it
on the
comes
part of
down to
big
the
tobacco
parents
that that's
to
the case,
let their
but we
children
also know
smoke.
from
So
the very small
if the
size of
parents are
the hookah
allowing their
community,
kids to do stuff like
and
that,
its
it's on
cultural
them. It's
significance,
not
that it's
on
the argument I
the
don't think could be made
businesses
very
and
easily that
allowing them to
we're
support doing
seeking
their
to
best to
preserve
prevent
this
this gets to
for
the
any
point that
monetary
they're doing
interests.
it
Do
in
we
schools and
see on
stuff
the
like
other
that. It's
side
up
of
to the
the
parents.
legislation that we're
Hookah
getting
is
caught
big
up in
enough where
that
it
there's
won't
a
fit in a backpack at
maybe a
home,
fiscal
fit
interest as
anywhere,
well? And
and
the
you can take
reason
it
that I
with you
was
and you
thinking
can
that
use
is
it.
because some
So
of
when you
these
use
pieces
codes,
of
you gotta line
legislation
them
that
up
you're
somewhere.
talking
So
about, like not being able to
you're talking about
transfer
a 15
the
minute
TRL and whatnot,
full setup
seem very
to
similar to
compare to
other,
it compared to a
property
baby
tax
that's small
issues
and is able
that
to be
the
charged
government
kids.
has been trying to, levy at large on, just, I mean, I think about my grandmother in New York who's like owned her house since the 50s. And, we're worried about like my mom inheriting it, with, without exorbitant, overhead. So I just wonder, maybe it's not relevant, but I'm curious as to some of the other interests besides like just the moms being anti-tobacco for the kids, which I think every reasonable person is in agreement with, like you were mentioning.
Well, that's something I guess we're not going to know until it's a little too late, right? It's what
Right.
we're finding out as we go. But the let's be clear: the everybody at home enjoying your hookah. Hopefully, you're enjoying it on a Regal hookah, and you're smoking Fumari, Alfakar, or Tangiers, our supporters. Woo-hoo. But we don't know where they're going to come from. But what we do know is that it's not just the moms worrying about their daughters. In fact, they're not the ones that are the big proponents. It's the big moneyed interests. We know that Bloomberg is a major
Right.
supporter of tobacco-free kids. There are other philanthropists that just like to throw money at things and say, "Oh yeah, let's protect our kids and ban flavored tobacco." Then it's their consultants and others that say, "Okay, this is how we're going to do away with all flavored tobacco," and then their goal will be all tobacco, and they will continue. But it's disguised as protecting underage vaping, but it's a flat out attack, purposeful, against hookah.
That is
Absolutely
a great.
well known part of
And
what they're pushing.
I want to just say, we're not mentioning all the supporters, and for fairness, I do want to give a shout out to everybody that has contributed. Some of the lounges that have put in, Atmosphere put in $2,000 for the SB38 fight, and that's really great for a single lounge. Starbucks put in money, and we hope that everyone continues to support us. Tangiers will be putting in more money. And we're working on all of that stuff. And Habash Trading, Pharaoh's Tobacco, from Saliba's distribution, Hookah John,
Arnie
Mary
from
has
Munchies.
Mary has spent time with us in LA. She's reached out to Brad Sherman, the local congressman. She's doing plenty of work. So it's not just the major guys that are on this call here too. It's a collaborative effort, and I want everybody to know that.
Right
And
on.
I think it's interesting, and I think you've seen my little blurb that pops up every now and then. All the retailers and like supporters of the National Hookah Community Alliance and Hookah University, your banner is going to come up on here for my streams from now on. You see the banner up there that pops up there from now every now and then. It says Regal Hookah and Alfaker. Honestly, that's my fault for not getting it organized before. But future streams, I will have those logos popped up. You guys are the supporting. You're supporting our community by keeping our hobby alive. That's the least we can do for you. Um, and George, I want to personally thank you for the things that everybody doesn't know that you do. You literally put your business on hold for more than a year through the
Oh yeah.
COVID pandemic just to support something you so dearly love. Um, it's not like George lives in the Beverly Hills in this giant mansion. You see George smoking out of the Matt Pear, being a nice, humble guy. Everyone else is talking about George. But many thanks out to you, George. And Arnie, I know that you've been in this fight for a very, very long time as well. Many thanks to you. I bought my first Regal from you. I drove down from Fresno to Hunga to get it. That was my first big boy pipe. There's many, many people that are working here in the background. You don't always hear their face or their name. You don't always see them plastered on Instagram with filters on their face, but they're still working as hard as they can to save this hobby that we so much enjoy.
In fact,
George,
I was
Bobby,
going to
I'm
say,
going to kick it off to you guys to see if you guys have any final thoughts and see if you guys want to kick it off to somebody else as well.
well, I was just going to say, little maybe my own little shameless plug or plight, another little anecdote perhaps about how these things do affect us. Yeah, George has been everybody here, but maybe more directly to the enthusiast community. George has been a huge advocate whose work on this issue we may have felt. I mean, I know my trying to get a custom Regal had to be put on hold just for my own, consciousness about the issue. Like I knew not to bother George while he was busy fighting for us. And yeah, that's been over a year. I can't even imagine, the amount of hours he's put in here. So this stuff does affect us, and you have people who really care about the hobby fighting for you guys. So definitely keep that in mind. But yeah, just a little, humorous anecdote there.
Yes.
Well, George is the reason we have membership. George is the one that
Absolutely.
pushes our membership run. Every time he posts it, I can tell you, I can feel the surge when he does. And the NHCA has two major challenges. One of them is being the membership, and the other one is the flavor ban, which is the imminent threat that we all agree on. But there are other threats. There's the TRLs, there's the zoning. These are coming up, and these are happening, and we should get ready for them. It's not a fight that's going to end with a flavor ban. It's an ongoing battle that's going to continue probably for a decade.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We have other problems that lounges are going to face, specifically in California and elsewhere. Something like the labor code, the 6404.5, which prohibits the sale of any drinks or food next to a hookah. I've been cited. I had a lounge for 8 years. I was cited in 2019 for an infringement of selling, food where I was serving hookah. I had to go to court 3 times during COVID just to release myself from that case. It took me almost a year, a lot of energy, but I was acquitted from it. But imagine other people have fines and go through this all the time, specifically those currently in unincorporated areas of LA County. We know of someone like Teddy has issues with his 2 lounges from Boba Bear, and we're aware of that, and we're trying to help them. So if you need anything, if I could be helpful to you through the NHCA, send me a text or actually an email through info@nationalhookah.com, and I will convey your concerns to the board at our Wednesday meetings, and we'll get back to you. The NHCA is here to protect your industry and protect your hobby and the culture and the tradition. So thanks, Jeremy, and thank you, Bobby, for having us.
Mm-hmm.
Our pleasure.
McKenna, maybe you can go through the states again in case people are catching the second half of the show here and talk about some of the efforts there. Maybe some of the most dangerous ones.
Sure. I would say probably our most dangerous states right now that we really are targeting would be Maryland, Washington, Oregon, and New York. Some of the others include Connecticut, Vermont, New Mexico, and Hawaii. So if you live in any of those states mentioned, we really need your help. on the grassroots advocacy side. And we need your voice to come to your, state representative. And we'll do that. We just need you and your representation in it.
Don't start slacking in California, guys, as well. Just
No.
No, not at all. Never.
Yeah.
I was going to say one last thing is that, one thing that I've noticed is, the hookah community is so very diverse in itself. I mean, it really brings together a lot of different people from different cultures that all have one common love, and interest and hobby. And I love that community. It's a brotherhood, if you will. And I feel like it's a strong community out there and it's motivating to come together and fight to protect something that you love and hold so dear. So again, we're very passionate about what we do. I mean, we stay up until midnight and later at these flavor ban meetings because we feel so strongly about protecting it. And there's plenty of opportunities that some of them don't take very much time. And certainly, you can, contribute what you can, but no one's asking you to, write over the mortgage. But we definitely could use whatever you can to, contribute and be a part of this community and help it grow. Like I said, there is certainly power in numbers. And, already we're becoming a little scary, when we show up because people are like, oh my God, this hookah community, who knew? And it's true. We're making a splash and we're making waves, and we have tons of positive accomplishments that we've been doing. And 2021, although it's kind of, there's a lot of challenges, this is something we definitely can do together. So thank you again for inviting us. We're so happy to be a part of this. And, obviously, if you guys have any questions, please, please, please reach out and connect with us. Thank you.
Anytime. Yeah, do the same for me, anybody in this chat, as well as anybody watching. If there's anything I can do to help, don't hesitate to reach out on Facebook. It's Robert Shields. You can find me on Hookah University pretty easily when you search members, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, anybody else, please add in.
Yeah, thanks for having us, guys. I really hope that we get a bunch of people who view this and want to get involved. You can always reach out to me, george@regalhookah.com. Drop me an email or find me on Facebook or Instagram. And of course, reach out to us. Thanks.
Awesome.
So guys, Afrek, you and McKenna really just haven't closed this out. McKenna, I know that you got a lot of information. Let's talk about all of the states again really quickly. I want to get that across.
Sure, yeah. So an overview list would be the states that we are engaging in that have full-out flavor bans, that don't yet have an exemption for hookah, that we need your help getting an exemption in, are Connecticut, Maryland, New York, Vermont, Oregon, New Mexico, and Hawaii. We can talk specifically about what each of those bills are. It may be a little bit in the weeds there, but even if we don't, that's the information that we'll provide to you.
Didn't we just get Illinois added to that list yesterday?
Yes, Illinois just
came in yesterday. So that's another.
Not only have those states introduced full out flavored tobacco bans, but they're continuing to pop up. Here we are, end of February, and they're still being introduced in many states.
I mean, there's plenty of other ones that are also of note that haven't been mentioned, which like New Mexico, North Dakota's shipping ban, right? You have like Montana's restrictions. Alaska has a new state structure.
Yep.
Texas has a flavor ban that has a hookah kind of language baked into it, but that's also something we need to closely monitor because we've seen where it starts out as a vaping bill and then it becomes a full flavor ban for all tobacco products.
Yep.
McKenna, I definitely will be reaching out to you on the Illinois side because I'm in Southern Illinois. I think we can make some headway here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to say, if you didn't hear your state called, that's great. You will eventually. And what we need you to do is, if you haven't heard your state called, get involved anyways. What we want to do, we don't want to just always be on the defensive. In your state, if it's not called, reach out to us so that you can help us lead an offensive charge so we can educate people on the front end before there's a ban. It's always easier. They're going to want to take your meeting, and if you can just reach out to me or McKenna or to any of us, we'll put you in contact. We'll figure it out. We'll do all the work for you. We'll give you the script. We'll give you the talking points. All you have to do is basically show up and say, "Hi, I'm a hookah enthusiast. It's important to me. I'm an adult. I've been doing it for many years." And then we'll do the magic. We'll take over. We'll contact your legislator. We'll set up the meeting. But it's really powerful if we can say, "Hi, I live in Idaho. I'm a member of this organization," and then we take over, and then we do the meeting, and then we find somebody that we call a champion. We want people to say, "Oh, okay, I met with these people." It's important so that they'll remember that in a year or 2 or 3 years from now, when proponents do try to put a ban forward. And we've already got you and your legislator there educated on all the talking points and all the stuff that we've talked about tonight. So on the front end, just because you didn't hear your name, your state called, we still need you.
Yes, I want to say thank you to each one of you that have joined us tonight. And I'm going to lead out with a little bit of an anecdote tonight. This anecdote comes from Paul Seelau. He was over fighting for his country overseas, and something simple like barbed wire got taken from his camp, correct? He had to go and negotiate with these individuals that took that barbed wire from the camp. Before those individuals would negotiate with him, they required him to sit down and smoke a hookah with him, to understand each other, to bridge the gap
Wow.
between political, social, economic differences. And to me, that in itself is a powerful motivational structure for some individuals that need to understand why hookah needs to survive. In each individual
Absolutely.
environment that we enter, we're going to be invited into those environments with people with different traditions, with people with different backgrounds, and we need to understand to accept that and to believe and understand in their story. It's something that lives within their
Absolutely.
culture and within their life. And for me, hookah is family. I've gotten to meet many different people from all over the world. I've gotten to travel thousands of miles with people together and spend part of my life with those people. My kids know them as brothers. My kids know them as uncles. So I want to say thank you to Paul Seelau for sharing that with me. And I want to say thank you for joining the stream tonight to understand what you can do as an enthusiast to change the narrative, what you can do to support the individuals that are fighting tonight. And they have given a lot. I know that George has given a lot. We have all taken our time out of our life to support this. So if you joined in tonight, thank you. If you're going to share this
Thank you.
video,
Yeah.
please share it. Share it to your friends that like hookah. Share it to your friends that don't like hookah so they can understand what this is. To understand that it's not something that you're going to hand to a child for them to put in their backpack and take to school.
No, not at all.
It's
Yeah,
an adult
absolutely.
hobby. We want to keep it that way. We want to support those who make reasonable, accurate regulations.
Yeah.
We're here to support that. So thank you again. And with that, guys, have a good night. Stay blessed. Have some fun. Smile, and enjoy the rest of your evening. It is Friday after all. Take care, guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
Thank
guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Well done, everybody. Thanks a lot, Afrak. Thanks, George, for
Yeah, that
tuning in
That was
and joining
awesome.
us.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining. I appreciate everybody who joined on. This will stay on our weekly Hookah Heat weekly page for a while. We will be coming back with more interviews, more stuff like this. We're going to continue to fight this. This is something that I deeply believe that is a a hobby for a traditionalist, and it's something that has a person that's worked on at a hookah lounge and seeing what these guys go through. Um, for most definitely, this ain't for kids. Anytime we go into a lounge, we get carded. Make sure that we're over 21 now, and make sure that we're not allowing minors to get into it. So, if you have any more questions, just go to Hookah Heat. Hookah Heat Weekly on our Facebook, ask questions, or nationalhookah.com, and just sign up. And, it's something important for people to view, for people to be a part of. Just make sure that we keep fighting to keep hookah in our lives, because it's important to keep it. So yeah, this live is just saying now. Peace out, smoke on, and